Hey there, beautiful brown girl family. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Brown Girl Boss. I see you all coming in. So as you are coming in, make sure that you go ahead and introduce yourself in the comments. Let us know where you are watching from. And also let us know if this is your very first time hanging out with us on Brown Girl Boss. And go ahead and share the broadcast on your page. I actually need to do the same thing so that my network can get in here. I promise you that tonight is going to be uber fun. There is a lot of information that we're going to get. So I want to make sure you get something to take notes with, because when I tell you the nuggets are going to be flying fast, you got to make sure you catch them. Okay. So let me go ahead. Y'all know I can't multitask. So give me just un momento, por favor. Let me go ahead and share this so my people can get in here, and y'all go ahead and start introducing yourselves in the comments for me so that we can get everybody in here. All right. So I just shared. I need you all to do the same. And for those of you who are new to the show, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Kimberlyn, and I am the host of Brown Girl Boss here on BBG TV. So welcome to this experience. Usually I come to you out of Central PA, but today I'm actually on location in a secret place. Just trying to get some rest and relaxation. Had a lot of life transitions and just really taking the opportunity to rest, okay? Because it's been quite some months. And we'll kind of get into that during the show, but I'm super excited to be here with you all. And just so you know what you are watching, this is Brown Girl Boss. It is our virtual platform that allows us to connect with other like-minded women who are on a mission to live their very best lives. We come to you weekly with programming that will challenge and inspire you and get the conversation going to connect with other beautiful brown girls. On tonight's show, we're going to be chatting with educator and wellness coach, Brown Girl Boss, Nadia Payan. And y'all, let me tell you, like, sis is so everything. Like, I don't even have a word to really capture it all, but the energy, you will feel the energy as we are talking. And I just really want to kind of set the tone. And I know I say this all the time, y'all. We have some amazing people on the show all the time, but real talk tonight, like when I tell you, I've been thinking about all of the things that we've talked about since we were preparing for the show, just like the creativity, the creative energy is off the charts. So really want to make sure that you all are ready to capture it all, because it is going to be so much. All right. So once again, make sure you introduce yourself in the comments. Let us know where you are watching from. Let us know if this is your first time hanging out with us on Brown Girl Boss. And also go ahead and tag your friends in the comments and share the broadcast on your page so that others can know what you are doing tonight. Okay? So, having said that, I kind of already told you a little bit, but tonight we are really looking at unlocking our creativity and getting back in touch with our inner child, whatever that means, right? But Nadia is going to totally explain all of that to us. So I want to just give you a little bit of information about who she is and what she brings into the space. So Nadia is an educator. She's a speaker. She's a Montessorian and artist devoted to conscious creativity, community care, and embodied interconnection. And you're about to see all of that come right to the screen in just a moment. So let me get her in here so we can kick this off, because I don't even want to be labor the time, y'all. We got too much to talk about. Hi, Nadia.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here.
Yes, I am so excited. So I know, like, I had to press pause, y'all, because before the show, we were just chatting up. I was like, girl, we got to this is too good. Just hold on for the people. So excited to have you here with us tonight. And thank you for taking some time out of your busy life to just deposit a little bit into the beautiful brown girl space here.
Oh my gosh. I'm in love with beautiful brown girls. I have been for many years. So I'm like, what? The pleasure's all mine. I'm really happy. Like I said, I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. So why don't you kick it off by telling us how you got into this work, right? This whole creativity space, tapping into the inner child. Like, how does one end up here?
I love it. So I'm going to start with just saying, I got to say a disclaimer first.
Okay.
Because I show up in all my spaces, and I say this every single time, I stand before you all unfinished. I am unfinished. I know a lot of things. I've learned a lot of things, but so have everybody who's here in this room. And I think that for me, there's been two sort of parallel paths that have led me to this moment, which is one, I had a past life in advertising, in the advertising industry as an art director and graphic designer, started my own business doing design and branding. So a lot of experience on what it means to be a creative, right? Professionally, right? So I have a skill set in those things. And then at the same time, my mother is a Montessori educator, early childhood education. So part of what I'm doing now is getting involved with her business, which is a Montessori preschool and kindergarten that she runs out of her house. It's really, really sweet. It's really sweet. And I was telling this joke to Kimberlyn before, but I always joke around that my clients are from ages 2 to 62. So it's awesome. And so Montessori has been a large part of my life, my whole life, right? And now I'm also certified as a Montessori educator for that age range, ages like 3 to 6 years old. And so between the two of them, I've made a lot of intersecting ideas and thoughts around what it means to live a creative life and the role that children play in our lives, including the children. I love the term inner child, but I always feel like people are talking about the inner child as like, oh, there's one inner child in me. When in reality, I feel like I like to use the term the child within, and or even the children within. And we'll talk about that in a moment.
Okay.
But I just want to say, so I might intermingle the two. I might switch in and out between saying the child within, the children within us, or the inner child. So I work with children. I work with adults. With the children, I always joke around that I'm teaching them human skills, like how to survive in this human world that we created. And with the adults, I'm really focused on reclaiming creative power.
Yeah. So as an educator, I completely hear you in teaching the little people how to people. Right. I think that there are some big people that need help with learning how to deal with people. So I salute you on that. I work in middle school and secondary, basically, so middle school and high school. So that's kind of the space that I live in. But shout out to you, girl, because the little people need like patient, loving people to really usher them into knowing who they are, and that exploration and all of that. Like, I just really appreciate that. So that's super, super awesome. And then the adult side of that, of learning how to unlock that creativity. So you tell me where you want to start, because these are two avenues that are super important. So do we want to go down the inner child road, or do we want to get to unlocking this creativity? Is it kind of like,
so I love that you brought this up like this, because someone's out here saying, I love the babies, the littles, me too. So I just, I want to already just start playing a little bit and just say, actually, they're not that different. They're one and the same. And the reason why I say that is because, like, children, especially at that age, but I would even say throughout an entire child cycle, which I don't know about you all, but like I was, for me, I feel like I felt grown in my late 20s. And even then, like, I still have moments and days, or, where I'm just like, who am I? Who am I?
Who let me grow up, girl?
You're out as an adult right now. And the so children are embodied creativity. They really are. They move through life and everything is creative, it's play, because they literally don't know anything else.
Right.
They don't know the rules. And for, you know, the rules that we've made up, that we actually created as a people, human beings, for better or for worse, which we'll get into that too.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have those things immediately. We teach them that. They absorb it from their environment.
Mm.
And then for us as adults, we have that in us. As adults, we get to unravel and connect with the child within. So then we get back to that place that is already embodied creativity, because creativity is not outside of us, it's within us.
Mm-hmm. So you said something that made me think about something. You were like, so I kind of want to play a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's something for us as adults that is frowned upon, like this idea of being playful. And so when I think about kids, especially littles, before they've kind of lost their zest and zeal for learning, that you know, everything is discovery. Like, it's just like, oh my gosh, like the world is at our fingertips. Yeah. And then somewhere in maybe like third grade or so, probably when standardized testing starts, we start to lose that ability to just exist and play. And then we get to be adults and it's like, now I got to adult and I got to be responsible for stuff. And I don't get to play. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that process, because you were kind of laughing, like when I shared that. Like, what did that spark in your mind?
Well, I mean, so again, I come from the Montessori methodology, where what gets tracked is a child's progress, not a standardized test. So there's that aspect already. That's kind of very different than what the mainstream or what is done on a societal level. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to loop in like a third subject here. So we're talking about creativity, how it lives within us as adults, the connection to the child within, right? Mm-hmm. And loop in observing children in real time, in real life, because they are... I often joke around that these children, we have a beautiful exchange that's happening. They show up and they teach me about how to live. Mm. And I show up and I teach them basic things like the numbers 0 through 10, mm-hmm. and how to read and write. Mm-hmm. So I really feel like they teach me, they are spiritual teachers for me. And I am a human teacher for them, like how to human this moment in time. And that's the exchange that we have. And it makes me feel really grateful every single day. And it also keeps me aware of how that wisdom, the wisdom that they embody, that they so naturally, they just live it. Mm-hmm. Live it. There's no such thing as a bad child, for example. Right. I'm always telling that all the time. It's something that we, at least in our environment, we really hone in on. We ask questions. We stay curious. When a child is doing something that is misbehaving, we are like, what's going on? You are not upholding the peace in our environment, in our classroom, right? We are a community and we need everyone to work together. You're doing something else. What's happening? Right? Like, right. We ask questions. And a lot of times we'll get answers. I'm tired. I'm sleepy. You know, I need to use the bathroom. Like, and I don't know about you all, but as an adult, like, honestly, I'm hungry. A lot of times when I'm acting out.
Yes.
That's my reality.
I'm hungry and tired. I need a nap.
Yes. I need a nap. But there's a lightheartedness that happens to this. And so I'm just trying to tie in this step by step. And then I'm going to bring in that third subject, which is the reality of living in capitalism. The reality that we live in a moment in time in which we live in global capitalism. And so there is actually a whole entire way of being on this planet right now that we're all entrenched in. There are places in which the buy-in is less. Mm-hmm. If especially as someone that's located and born and raised in the United States, it's how I've been raised, is with a capitalist mindset, with a capitalist way of moving through the world. And capitalism and creativity are at odds with each other. They,
Mm-hmm.
I was having this conversation with a friend recently that works in advertising, my old industry. And we were talking about how the two are actually maybe even on opposite ends of the same spectrum.
Mm.
Living a creative life means living non-linearly, organically, being open
Right.
to possibility, being open to the ability to create, to come up with a new solution, to feel capable. Children who are learning are always going after this.
Mm-hmm.
Always like, I'll say a word and they'll be like, Miss Nadia, what does that mean? What's that word?
Mm-hmm.
No shame.
Right.
Like, straight up, I'm learning English right now. Like,
Right.
I'm learning to speak.
Yeah.
You know, what is that word? And then the courtesy that we give young children, we often don't give it to ourselves by design. And I just answer them because I know that they're learning, you know. I'm like, oh, I don't go out and say, oh, you don't know that word?
Right. And put
You're
all kind of
you don't know that word? How dare you?
Wow.
No, there's no shaming. So living a creative life is on one end, living non-linearly, living into possibility, living creatively, feeling capable. Living in capitalism usually means the polar opposite. Because as someone who, and this is where I'll bring in my advertising aspect, I was using all of my creative skills, design, storytelling, to sell. And to sell things. And so capitalism, so in service of capitalism, my creativity was in service of capitalism. So basically capitalism is basically just focusing on the idea that you will never be able to create a solution to any problem on your own. You're actually just better off buying this thing, right? So this thing that we've already made for you, you want this. You can't come up with something good enough.
Wow.
Right? It starts very, very young when we start getting fed that message. People have told me, my adult clients have told me things like, oof, I don't remember the last time I picked it. I remember that person who told me I didn't know how to draw. I remember that time someone told me I didn't know how to sing. I remember that time someone told me my dance moves were bad. You know, things like that. And without that, that is effectively cutting that stem, that seed of creativity that is in all of us.
Yes. So you and y'all, I want y'all to answer this question for us in the comments. Like, at what age did you feel most creative and most free? So you literally, Nadia, just made me think back when you were talking. I was asking myself this question in my head because I remember maybe being like 5, somewhere between 5 and 7. And you know how you ask kids like what they want to be when they grow up? And I had my life mapped out, right? So I was like, Monday through Friday, what was I going to do? I was going to be a teacher. And then when I got off from work, I was going to be a dance teacher. And then on the weekends, I was going to be a doctor. A pediatrician, I think. And then I also wanted to be an architect. So I was going to design like my own home. And I used to like draw out maps and like rearrange my furniture. And like my mom would come home from work and I rearranged the whole living room, like, you know, all of this stuff, right? And I remember like having these dreams. And then I got interested in science. And so I said, you know, I want to be a doctor, right? So I think of all those things that I said, my mom probably latched onto that and was like, oh, doctor, okay. She put me like in all the science programs, right? Which I love. Like I'm a total math and science girl. But what happened is I really started to get focused on math and science. And then all of my creative outlets turned into hobbies. And it was just kind of like, oh, something that you would do on the weekend or something that you would do if you had spare time, right? So I went to school, got a degree in biology, like started teaching science, like all of that. And then maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, I got back into acting and modeling. And I had asked myself, like, where did this come from? Like, why am I doing this acting and modeling? And literally thought back to my first play. I was 3 years old and I was the big angel in the Christmas play. And when I tell you, this was like my pride and joy. Like, I'm like, don't be afraid. You're going to have a baby. And it's going to be Jesus. Like, it was my starring role.
I can see it.
But it's so funny because I had buried that so deeply because somewhere along there, somebody said to me, like, if you want to have a good job, like, you have to, follow this path of medicine. Like, you can't make money, just being out here all free and creative. And it's so crazy at 40. Now I'm like, bump all of that. I'm about to follow all my creative dreams. But it took me so much time to get back here. So when you say about the connection between capitalism and creativity, I never made that connection before, but it's really making me think about how all of those dreams were pushed to the side for the sake of earning money.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like mind blown right now.
Yep. I mean, you said it. It's when we think that the solutions are outside of us, or when we think that the only way to survive is, because even when you think about like that question, right? That means that at that age, you were already answering with a job.
Yeah, that's true.
Let me tell you, like sometimes asking that question, that means that you as a child was already thinking already programmed, because we're born into it. In Montessori, there's this concept of the absorbent mind, and it is that there's sensitive periods in life, and one of them being ages 3 to 6, and they're kind of like all the way up to age 24. Between 18 and 24, you're like developing your spiritual self, right? So everything from like how to function 0 to 3, right? And so she's problematic in a lot of ways too, and she also has a lot of gems that she gave to I think humanity too. And one of the things that she mentions is this idea of the absorbent mind, that the child basically is literally a sponge, sponge. So if you are born into a country where capitalism is the political economic system that is active, that is what you are absorbing everywhere, all the time. And I mean, we're not even going to go into, because there's just not enough time, but like how all the isms are all linked. And we can actually, I want to talk about capitalism in particular, because I think that creativity, you're working with your child within, and capitalism, those three can exist in the same sentence really easily. We can reach for it, and I'll map it out for everyone so we can really follow. But I will also just name, for those of us who are maybe feeling like, I think there's more, like it's all of the isms. It's all supremacy culture that is keeping us away from the power. It's power dynamics in an unhealthy way, power dynamics in a domineering, dominant way, as a power, which sometimes we talk about the power within.
Right.
One of the things that I mentioned to you when we were prepping for this call was like, why is it that in public schools, for example, where the majority of the school population is Black and brown, that suddenly there's no money for music, no money for the arts, no money for humanities, no money for all the creative stuff?
Yeah, it's the first to get cut.
I have a lot of accusations and suspicions. A lot, and I will just name my accusation, which is that is by design, because in order for capitalism to continue functioning, we need people thinking, believing in their heart of hearts, systemically, that their power comes from the outside in, that it needs to be externally validated, that they cannot make a bookshelf, or they cannot make, or they cannot write a book, because God forbid that they realize that they have all this creative power within them. When someone taps into their creativity, when they think to themselves, I'm going to just make it because I can. Imagine what happens. I see this with my adult clients all the time. Things start to move. They feel more powerful. They feel more capable. They understand they even start honing in on what skills do I want to develop? Because what's beautiful to me about creativity is that it can be expressed in a lot of different ways. So, for example, and I like to say this as someone who was a creative professional, because we get confused. We associate the word creativity with a job, capitalism.
Right, yes.
So I get street cred here because I'm like, yes, I know graphic design. I actually studied violin classically since age 6. That's 30 years of study, so I'm here to say that regardless of whether or not you have your skill in a craft is one thing, your ability to create is innate. Okay, skill, you can develop that. That takes practice. Time and repetition. Your creative power already lives in you. Period. End of story. When we start tapping into that, then we start understanding, actually, I'm noticing that something comes out of me. Well, you, Kimberlyn, on this stage, being able to facilitate conversations with all different personalities and people, that's a creative skill. You have innate creative power, and you've been honing in since age angel. Since age angel, being like, come join me on this stage. You're gonna have a baby.
Yes, you're gonna name him Jesus. No.
And that's the skill.
Yeah.
For somebody else, it might be for myself, for example, playing a musical instrument. I took lessons. I got support. I joined an orchestra. I played professionally. All these things. That's one instrument that I gained a lot of skill in. But the whole time, whether I was playing my violin, drawing a cartoon, right, poorly, or writing some teenage angsty poems that will never see the light of day, those are all my creative power coming to light.
Yeah. But then I'm thinking about how, like, for instance, when you said you were drawing and then you said badly, right? But then who decided that it was bad, right? Because I've seen so many things, because I paint and I don't do it nearly enough, but thank you, Jesus, I'm about to start after this. But like, I've seen so many things that are literally like a square on a canvas or like a line, and people are paying hundreds of dollars for this. So it's like, who decides what is acceptable or not is centered in who's gonna buy it in capitalism.
Yep. And I'll say one other thing from my time in advertising. When I had a branding and design business, I used to say this to my clients all the time. Here's a real secret. Everything sells. Why? Because we made it up. And so everything sells. The only thing is someone willing to buy it? And so there is like a dance that we get to have between our creative selves and living in this system of capitalism, which is oppressive. I have no doubt about that. It is designed to keep certain people under power and keep other people up in power. Yeah. And anytime power is like this, as opposed to like this, where we're all showing up in our creative power with our differences, then I'm not interested. And also I live in it. So I participate. Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, I say this to be able to say, let's hold ourselves with a lot of grace, because I will say though, in terms of the child within, you do start seeing a child being able to distinguish what they consider good or bad. But what matters is that the judgment comes from within. Right? So it is one thing to look at your own artwork and say, I want to do better next time. I'm going to continue developing this skill. I'm going to continue refining my craft. Because you have something in your mind and what you created is not at that, it doesn't match up yet. That's okay. Continue on your path, on your creative path. It's a whole other thing for somebody else to say, that's a square.
Yeah.
That's a square. You're gonna, what? Who cares about them? They have their own creative path to go on.
Right.
I will also say another thing. Not everything that you create needs to be monetized. And that's also, as someone who is a professional creative, it is something that I contend with in a conversation with myself day in and day out. But
Mm-hmm.
even if you are a full-time working artist, painter, I've had in my class, Reclaiming Your Creativity, I had working painters, seamstresses, people whose whole jobs, and they needed a moment. They needed a moment to reclaim their creativity.
Yeah.
More proof, it is a skill that they developed. Their creative voice is a whole other universe. Their creative power is a whole, just to explore themselves is a whole other thing. So
I just felt a lot of freedom
I
of
love
that,
that.
everything not needing to be monetized, because sometimes it's just the act of being able to create that unlocks other things, right? Whatever that might look like, but being able to create free from feeling like it has to be good enough. So it makes me think about the different coaches I've had over time, and they're like, just write or just dance or just, paint or just do. Like, it doesn't have to be, yeah, but it feels like if I'm going to do that, then I need to do something with it. And that's not necessarily, it's not true at all. Like, I'm just going through the act.
What if you were doing something with it by being it?
Wow.
Okay, so I'd like for you to put up this quote. I'm gonna read it out loud for folks. It's by one of my muses, Audre Lorde, American poet and activist, who, I don't remember if she wrote it or said this, but we must recognize and nurture the creative parts of each other without always understanding what will be created. And when we think, so now let's loop it back into those child within, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is how we engage our inner child. And so just to do the step by step, you live in capitalism. Actually, let's go from the biggest thing to, and then we'll go in. So we've got this global system of domination that we live in called capitalism, global capitalism. Within that is you, an adult, a grown-up, which is what the little children call us. I'm like, I'm an adult. They're like, no, you're not. You're a grown-up. I like it. The grown-up, right? Within our grown-up selves are all these versions of us, the child within, right? Or even I'll say the children within. And all of these children within, all up until maybe even the present moment, represent different parts of our creative evolution, right? How we have been creating ourselves as we show up in our lives. Maybe intentionally, maybe unintentionally, maybe a combination, maybe we're reacting to things that are happening to us. But we are when we start realizing that, we are actually constantly creating. And so when we start working with the child within, with the inner child, we unlock that creativity, which is, to me, one of the many ways to unravel from the system of domination called capitalism. I hope that was clear. I know it's a little jumpity jump, but
no,
I got real intense real fast.
No, it really is. And what it made me think about is you had talked to me about this concept of creativity and embracing our creativity and unlocking our creativity being this revolutionary act. So I would like for you to talk to us about how do we get in touch with the inner children within us so that we can unlock that creativity? Like, are there certain steps that we can do, or exercises that we can participate in to really get better at this and deprogram ourselves?
Yes. I'm so happy you asked. There's so many things. There are so many things. One thing that, and I believe one of the practices that I made was shared with Beautiful Brown Girls. I'm not super sure where that is, but I know that was part of it, like following the child within. But I will say a simple exercise would be to actually just take a moment, find a quiet few minutes if you can. I know we're all out here trying to survive capitalism. Just saying, because that's real too.
It is.
You know, that's real too. We have to name it all. Like we still, yes, we want to deprogram or reprogram. For me, I don't even love the term unlearn. I'm like, no, we're learning. We're learning to be free now then, you know,
Okay.
like, you know, we're always learning. We're always creating. But that being said, we're also doing that while still living in the system. So have grace with yourself. Have some grace. But if you're able to find a quiet moment, maybe in a nature setting would be amazing, but at least, you know, someplace where you feel good, someplace where you feel safe. And even if it's even if you are like a busy mom, that might be your car. That might be your car before you pick up a child from school.
Yes.
Many mothers do this, and they're sitting in their car having a moment.
Or the bathroom.
Or the bathroom. Yes, yes. And when you're there, take a few deep breaths. One way of doing relaxing breath that soothes the body from a nervous system standpoint is you breathe in and you breathe out longer than you breathe in. So for example, you'd breathe in 3 counts and breathe out for 5. So you breathe in 3 and then breathe out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you do that cycle a couple times, maybe 3 times. And then you pick out something that's alive for you right now, because we're all going through stuff all the time. So maybe something is going on in your life that's alive right now. You're trying to sort something out. You got something on your mind. Really gently bring it to your mind. Bring it into your heart. And then think back, call in that memory. And if you can't remember, then use your imagination, because sometimes even just thinking, okay, I'm going to imagine a time when I was a kid that maybe something around this theme happened, right? So for example, for me, it might be, for some reason, I do not feel supported right now in my life, right? And so I'm going to think back or imagine a moment in time in my childhood, connecting with the child within, right? Child within, when did you not feel supported? And maybe you get suddenly, you know, because you're in this relaxed, open state, you get this memory of, oh my gosh, I remember when I was 5 and I was trying to get my mom's attention, but my younger sibling was like a baby, and it seemed like no matter what I did, or no matter how hard I screamed, or no matter how loud I was, or how rambunctious I was, or how good I was, right? And some of the children are trying to get the attention by acting out, but some of the children are trying to get the attention by complying. Didn't matter how good I was, how many rules I followed, I didn't seem to get the support that I needed, the help that I needed in that moment. And let whatever come up, you know? That's how we start observing the child within, following the child within, holding with a lot of tenderness the child within. Because, you know, you're grown now, maybe you have an understanding of like, okay, mom was really juggling a lot. Mom was working 2 jobs, had 2 children, you know,
right.
Literally doing the best she could. We understand that here, but the child within is still in pain.
Yeah.
Wounded. And so then ask that child within, when you're in that state, how, you know, what do you need? How can I help you? How can I be here with you? And listen to the answer. And sometimes it might just be like, I need you to pay me attention. Okay, what do you want to do? I want to pick flowers. In my experience, it's not been very extreme things, because, you know, like a lot of times it's really simple things that have gotten sort of like buried in us, that just need room to surface. I need to be heard. And then there's a lot of things that you can do. You can journal. You know, hearing doesn't mean that suddenly you're talking like a child, literally. No. It can mean that, like, okay, you know what? I'm going to write in my journal, maybe with your non-dominant hand. So then that way you write like a kindergartner. You start writing at the pace of that child. Or I'm going to draw, or you can collage too. I'm going to collage the feelings, go through some magazines and collage some feelings of how that made you feel. I want to be seen. I want to be loved is a lot of the time what the child within needs.
Yeah.
And it might be that something surfaces and you're 15 and it's the same feeling, right? Oh, I wanted to be free and my parents were holding me back and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what do you need to feel free right now? I need to scream. Invitation in your car. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Invitation to scream in your car.
You know what's so interesting as you're talking, and we talked, I know, a little bit about this offline, but like the understanding of how to let oneself feel, because you were like, just feel, let the feelings come or what have you. And I have grown to understand that in this 4th decade of my life, I am just learning how to allow myself to feel. And this takes, when we talk about self-care and we talk about, paying attention to what self needs, it takes it to a completely different level, in what you're talking about, of being able to ask myself what I need and then honoring that, which means that I have to allow whatever those feelings are to come so that I can see what it is that I need in order to feel better. And it's I don't know that I've ever thought about it in that way before. Like I've definitely thought about, oh, I feel like I need to stretch, for instance. Like that's something that comes to me often. I'm like, I need to stretch. But I have not necessarily connected back in my inner child to say, when was there a time where I felt tight and tense? And was I feel, you know what I mean? Like I'm just like, oh, I need to stretch, so I do some yoga and then I call it a day. But this deeper exploration, if you will, is really making me think about the healing that can come out of all of this when we're able to connect.
Yep. Beautiful. And can I offer something up that just because of something you mentioned earlier?
Please. Yeah.
Does it have to do actually with needing to dance? Because you mentioned that part of one of your many things that you were going to be doing for all your 50 million jobs as a 5-year-old was a dance teacher.
Yeah.
And so when I was like, ooh, freedom of movement, how often are we told to sit still in school?
Yes.
How often are we told to sit still in school? To just be like, no, you got to stay at your desk.
Right.
What is that for? To prepare us for the office job.
Right.
It's just programming.
Wow.
And again, Montessori is a different kind of lens or a different methodology. So the classroom structure there is actually one that's created so then the child has the ability to roam freely. So think about that for yourself, right? In what ways was I allowed to roam freely? In what ways was I not? As a child, as a kid, as a teenager, as a young adult, as a grown-up, right? And so sometimes we understand, and as grown-ups now, we understand the nuances, right? We understand there are certain things in order to make society function that we're saying, all right, we're not going to have that behavior. But there are moments also where it's like, no, maybe you just need to like wiggle it out. Or even today, we had a rainy day. I'm in Miami, Florida. We had a very rainy day. We did not get to go outside with the children today. And so we had one little child who is very active, normally gets all the running out on the playground, and didn't have that opportunity today.
Right.
So needless to say, by the time we were done with lunch, was running back and forth, running laps in the classroom, was using the outside voice inside. And there are choices in that moment, right, for an educator to make. You can use shame, which is be quiet. You're not supposed to be here. Do it. Comply. This is not it. For Montessori has a different approach, which is I just saw him and I was like, okay, you need to run. Well, we use walking feet in the classroom, but can you jump across? Can you jump? And I showed him how. Like how did you, and it was very hard for him because he's very little. It was very challenging. Sometimes it broke back out into a run because that was the easier thing and he got energy to burn. But he tried. And so now I'm working with the child on their coordination, on their independence, on their control, on how to move their, they're getting a sense of their body.
Mm-hmm.
Why stop them? The loud outside voice inside, the teacher just took him outside and said, well, you're using your outside voice. The other person that was in the classroom with me just said, well, let's go outside. Scream.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now we're outside. Use your outside voice. And he just screamed until he was done, and then we just brought him back in. He was done.
Right.
Like, the thing is, and everybody that's here, I'm really sorry. I definitely saw this on a social media meme, and I do not know if it's true or not, but I saw a thing that was like around feeling your feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was something like a statistic that was like a feeling on average takes about 90 seconds to completely feel. Do not quote me on this. Please research this. So I was like, even if we're off by a few minutes, right?
Yeah.
We're off by 30 minutes. Although I don't know if I've ever stayed in one feeling for 30 whole minutes, but even if that's the case, why do we not give ourselves permission to feel the feelings?
Because we're told that we're not supposed to, and
that you need to buy this thing instead.
It's all consuming, and it's never going to go away.
Mm-hmm. And so buy this to make you feel better.
Yeah. Oh my God, Nadia. I am seriously like just sitting here just mind blown, because like just for a moment ago when you were like, maybe it's about dancing, right? That is where my creative power lives. Like I love to dance. I love like if music is on, I am moving, like I'm singing, I'm dancing, like that. I live in music, right? And it's, oh my gosh, it's so interesting. It's so many levels. I'm sorry, my mind is like super jumbled. But I'm thinking back to, again, that programming that we received, how you mentioned like the arts are cut in certain schools with certain demographics of students. Like we take those things away, and those are the things that give us that freedom and really allow us to connect to who we are. And we take that, like,
it's what allows us, like I said, for me, it really goes back to power, because people in power start revolutions. When your heart is radicalized and and you're coming from this place of, I love myself, and so I want something different for myself even, then different choices are made, different commitments are made, different types of things are put up with, or perhaps we choose to rest instead of going, I'm just saying. And I also just want to name, there are for me, I'm talking about that. I understand that for me, that's coming from a place of privilege, socioeconomic privilege, that I just want to name, because there are also times where you just grin and bear it. Why? Because of the same exact reasons why, listen, I'm not telling anyone to give up their ability to put their food on the table. I'm just naming it. I'm just saying, let's poke a little bit at the bear of your creative self, of your creative power.
Wow.
And so the other thing that I'll say, there's that aspect of going back and exploring yourself and being really gentle with that child within, regardless of the age. But then also and sometimes tender feelings come up. Like I said, I tell the children this in the classroom. I'm like, if you're mad, if you're sad, if you're happy, if you're mad, sad, and happy pretty much covers everything, their whole feelings, right? Everything for them. Or no, if you're scared, that was another one for COVID. If you're scared, feel your feelings. That's okay. Feel mad, feel sad, feel scared, feel happy, and choose peace. And just, I'm hoping to be planting some seeds within their little hearts that it's okay to feel all our feelings. It doesn't mean that, because sometimes by the time we're grown-ups, we're like, yeah, but I have so much anger in me. I have so much fear in me. I have so much, I'm gonna hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm just gonna, maybe me.
I was about to say, and sometimes it's hurt myself. Yeah.
It's gonna be me. if from a young age we understand, or if we can sort of reparent the child within and say, it's okay for you to feel all those things and we're going to be fine because we know how to choose peace. That feeling your feelings does not mean a violent end. It actually just means that you just felt your feelings. And that like you'll still get to have the opportunity, because you felt your feelings, I'll even say that, to make a peaceful choice for yourself. So you have peace of heart. So you have peace of mind and peace of spirit.
And I keep hearing these themes of grace coming up as you're speaking. Compassion and peace, like, which are such soothing type of feelings, right? Just free of like fear doesn't exist in a space of peace and a space of grace and compassion, you know. And I think as adults, as grown-ups, our fears drive us. You know, when I think about, for instance, why I haven't left a job or why I haven't pursued passions, it's because I'm like, how am I going to feed myself? Like, I got to put food on the table. That's a fear, you know? So being able to exist outside of that, or explore what it's like to be able to exist outside of that, is a revolutionary act in itself, right? And freeing us from this capitalistic system, this racist system, this, all of these things that tell us that we can't, you know, we don't see Black and brown people on TV living this peaceful, you know, gracious, compassionate existence. That's not what we see, you know, but we can have that. I'm just over here just putting
I'm like, I got nothing to add. I'm just like, listen to Kimberly.
I have never in real life, Nadia, have never like thought about this way. Again, when you mentioned like thinking about creativity, I've always thought about it in connection to money, never just to be, but then also I'm getting just a completely different idea of what it means to execute self-care. And when people say revolutionary self-care, radical self-care, it's like, this is what that looks like, to be able to heal the pieces of myself that were broken, not necessarily to ascribe fault to that, but these are pieces that were broken. What do I need now to be able to exist as a whole person in a space where I can unlock all of the ideas, all of the freedom that comes with that? And I've just never thought about it before. So I'm literally just talking out loud, like, and processing out loud, but just thinking of how many people need to feel this.
Yeah. So I mentioned that first exercise. There's another one I want to mention, which is in a different moment, because in the first one you might, because there's something I want to close a loop on around peace and feeling uncomfortable, uncomfortable feelings, right? The fear or the anger, or just that deep sadness, you know, that melancholy. Think back to a time when you had a really good cry, and how that relief in your body that existed after. That's what we're talking about. That cry is a creative act. It's a release of the body to be able to move those feelings, that energy, however you want to call it. But something gets moved. And then you're like, I say it with the children.
The deep exhale.
And the belly gets out, and all of that happens. We do it too.
Yeah.
If we make the room for it, we can do that too. And that exhale is peace. Right? There's a moment of peace that can happen in our bodies that we can embody after that. That good cry, yes.
Yeah.
That good cry. So that first exercise of going back and recalling and using your memory or your imagination, noticing what happened in your childhood, in your past, that is alive in this moment. Because and I'm no exception. I just want to keep saying this. Like, I do this now because I'm still finding stuff, right? Then in another moment, you can actually maybe reconnect with that child from that time frame. So say, for example, a memory came up for you and you're like, oh, when I was 13, this.
Mm-hmm.
And then think about, like, what were some things that really you loved to do at 13 then?
Mm.
So same process, do the deep breaths, go somewhere quiet, maybe light a candle, maybe smell a flower, whatever makes you have your heart start to open, right? We all have our little things that we can do to open our hearts, and which is also a creative act. And just gonna keep, everything is creative. And think back to what were some things that you enjoyed doing at that time? And what would be the now version of that for you? So maybe it was dancing. And you'd be like, all right, well, maybe I don't want to dance to those songs anymore, but I want to go out and take a salsa class. Or, you know, I'm going to learn tango or zouk, you know, like whatever. Or maybe I'm actually going to just put on some music and do free dance. No choreography, and just see what happens when I move my body organically. No censor, no mirrors, nobody else. For one song, 5 minutes, right? And see what happens. So we can. That's when we are able to start following that child within, and getting those hints and applying it to our grown-up selves, knowing that when we invite them into that space, some part of us is healing, and we are providing that healing to ourselves. Through creative acts.
Wow.
Because children, they have no resistance to creativity. So I'm willing to bet that chances are, even those of you who are like, I loved to clean, you probably it made you feel creative in some way, shape, or form. So you know, you're probably the kind that like has scrapbooks with all the little stickers and stuff like that. Yeah, I love to
organizer. So
I was not that child. I'm going to say that right. That was not me. But I have children in my life that are like that, and I'm like, this is beautiful for that. Go on with your best self. Like, you are creating order.
Oh my God. I am so just loving this. And community, I hope that you all are receiving, and I see from the comments, like y'all are like, yes, and connecting to what Nadia is sharing here, because this is like that next level of revolutionary freedom. Like I want to go back and I want to watch, and I want to watch the replay, and I want to do these activities that you just suggested, because I'm really, really interested to see what will bubble up, and what that will look like to, again, allow myself to experience these things more freely and more often. And I know we just scratched the surface here, girl. Our time is up. Like, it's so crazy. The hour flies by so fast. But I do want you to talk to the people about where they can find you, what you have coming up, like how can we connect to continue exploring this?
So there's two things that come to mind. Well, one, probably the easiest thing to find me is if you're on Instagram. I'm Nadia Payan on Instagram. That's always a fun place. But if you're wanting to explore more of the creative aspects and like maybe do some workshops, one of the things actually that I'm curious to know about the people here, I am not making any promises yet, but I had this idea recently to do like a create and meditate monthly virtual session. And if folks can tell me yes in the chat or in the comments if they're interested, I would love to I keep just asking, I keep putting it out there to see if people are interested, and if enough people are interested, I'm going to start it. And the way to find out if I started is to come here to nadiapayan.com/now. And at the bottom of that page, there's something called the Imagination Times. It's my newsletter, and that's where I would make the announcement. The other thing I want to say is I do have a membership site that is more so it's called Aligned Visionaries. And I'll put that over here too. One moment, please. There we are. And this is a membership site where we kind of blend. It's really great for people who have side hustles or full-time entrepreneurs, because me and my business partner, we do a blend of workshops around spiritual living, which I tend to teach and really hone in on creative practices. I mean, one of them we actually just did, it was active creative practices, and all the workshops are, my business partner talks about like marketing from an energetic free space, marketing from a place of liberation, right? And not necessarily of trying to guilt or shame people into buying things. And so it's really interesting. It's a diverse group, and every single workshop, like when you join that membership, everything is pre-recorded, so you can just watch, you can binge watch all of them up until, and we do sessions every single month. Beautiful, thank you. And I see Crystal saying yes, thank you.
Yes.
So those are like my two big spaces and places. That's my invitation.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'm just sitting here thinking like Kimberlyn, want more of this, because I can just see the value in really being able to tap in. And as I am entering a new season of life, just really honing in on what it is like to be a creative, right? Just as you're like, everything is creativity, and reshaping what I think about when I hear that word. So look,
and who you be when you are that word, right? Like,
right. Yeah, it makes me think about just a whole new level of freedom. Like, I keep using that word, but it just feels so freeing, and I want some. I want some. Yeah. So, wow. Okay, y'all. So we got some action items. So we need to go over to Insta, okay, and follow Nadia on her Instagram, and then also go over to nadiapayan.com/now to let her know if you are willing to participate in monthly workshops or monthly opportunities to really be able to hone in and tap in, so that we can get her to get these things on the docket.
Yeah. I love getting feedback from people. I don't like this is part of my revolutionary rest, right? I'm like, I am down to be me and share everything that I have with as many people as possible. And it's always in conversation. It's never just like, oh, I got it all, I have all the answers, da 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 da. No, it's a co-creation. It's always a co-creative process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Nadia, I am just so grateful for you and the time that you have spent here with the community. And like I said, I cannot wait to go back and watch the replay. I am really, I had some eye-opening moments there, and I'm like,
you're like, I love it.
Girl, what? So I'm just really, and I really am looking forward to sharing this with people that I love and care about, that I know that have been feeling kind of stuck and not really in a place to experience this. So I just thank you for your energy and your spirit, and just bringing this piece to the beautiful Brown Girl family and Brown Girl Boss. It is just really appreciated.
Yeah, the pleasure is absolutely mine. Thank you all so much.
So y'all make sure y'all go over again to Nadia's Insta, go over to her website so that you can connect. And while you're doing that, also make sure that you check us out. If this is your first time hanging out with us, make sure that you go over to members.beautifulbrowngirls.com so that you're able to get connected with us as well. And there you'll be able to find all of the programming that we do, all of the amazing things that we do as a Beautiful Brown Girls family. And you'll get the first know on all of the new events and things like that. So make sure you do that. And also you can connect with me on Instagram at Kimberlyn J, and you can see all the shenanigans that I'm up to and the things that I'm doing, because y'all, it's a lot that's happening. So really want to get connected to this next space in life. So with that being said, y'all, we have a next episode of Brownversations coming up next Monday. That's going to be the 5th. And Sab and I will be back with more things to talk about. And in the meantime, Nadia, you are officially, honey, a member, of course, of the Beautiful Brown Girl family, but making sure that you keep us posted on all of the things that you're doing, because we really want to make sure that we stay connected and really put our network behind yours and just amplify all of this stuff that you're doing.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, everybody.
Awesome. So on that note, it is my pleasure, girl. This has been an absolute pleasure. So y'all, we will see y'all on Monday for Brown Conversations, and the Wednesday after that for our next episode of Brown Girl Boss. On that note, we will see y'all later. Take care, y'all. Bye.
Bye.